This is Lights Out. I am Faisal Khan. I'm here in Wembley. Delighted to be joined by Dillian Whyte. Dean, how you doing,
man? All good, man. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you for asking. We're here at Body Profit Studios.
Yeah.
First of all, Dean, let's get started. Ask you, how was your Christmas and New Year?
It was all good. It's just family and stuff and friends and a whole lot of partying.
A lot of partying, yeah.
Yeah,
What's the New Year's resolutions for?
Now I'm just back in the gym, Obviously, it's a new year, new goals. In many aspects, in terms of just life achievements, in the boxing world, with the fighters, I'm going to be, kind of managing or pushing forward in the new year. Trying to get myself a bit more trim, getting, like sometimes you go on the wand, it's hard to train and have that mindset. I'm not a fighter, so I have a somewhat of it because it's been done for so many years, but, as when summer passed, I kind of just went on a little bit of a decline. It's like, well, summer's over, not much to kind of have to look forward to. Most of the holidays I was trying to get in shape for had gone and so on. So I just kind of chilled and just kind of, ate what I wanted to, enjoyed life a bit too much possibly. So, New Year, back in the gym already. I started going from before the Christmas and then New Year's Eve and then I think January the 2nd and yesterday, and then I'll probably go today. So I'm just trying to pick up real well in the New Year, start off, get myself body and mind well, and just run into the new year and get some of these new boys what I got out probably like end of Feb, early March, and start ringing some bells in what they're going to do,
We'll come on to obviously the current stable of yours in a bit. We'll obviously rewind back to Saudi Arabia. Your brother Dillian back in the ring took on Marius Whyte.
Yeah.
He got a unanimous decision win. Firstly, how happy was you to get him out of the ring before the end of the year?
I think it was obviously all a bit sudden, and then when it did happen, we was like, well, he'd been training, in terms of, I knew how tough Whack was, and I said it to people all along that he was, very durable. If you know anything about Whack, he's got one of the best chins in the business, The only thing I didn't know is that actually he was actually training for a fight prior. I learned that while I was out in Dubai, not Dubai, Saudi, sorry. Rather, that he'd been in camp for at least 3-4 months. That seemed to probably be like the best Whack that I've seen, and sometimes obviously he's taking fights on shorter notice and stuff like that, because obviously he fought Martin Bakole, that stoppage was a bit premature, I think, a little bit for me. I think he was still in there hanging in, he was taking the shots. It was good shots he took still, like against Jamil Miller. I don't know what kind of time span they gave him for that fight and notice. But I mean, for Dill, obviously, it was very short, 2 to 3 weeks notice, possibly. I think less than 3 weeks actually, about 2 weeks or so anyway. And then he'd been training, but it's not the same as when he's in Loughborough in camp. And you could tell, he came in 2 stone heavier. He's a warrior, so he went out there, he fought, he boxed. He's done some nice stuff out there, but he got hit a little bit too much. He was on the ropes a little bit too much for me, and I think that's down to like when you're experienced, you know how to kid the rounds and, recover on the ropes, trying to catch and counter and do stuff. But it's like, old school James Toney used to do it. Loads of old school fighters know how to play the game when they're in there,
As you mentioned, obviously he hasn't been in the ring for a while, and it was 5 months since his last fight against Oscar Rivas. So obviously it was very important that Dillian shrugged off some sort of ring rust. What was your thoughts on the overall performance?
Like I said, it weren't the best performance. If I'm looking at it and analysing it, I'd say a lot of the guys wouldn't be quaking in their boots. They're looking at Marius Whack as, he's an older guy. He's probably past his best, some would say. But to be honest, there'd be a lot of guys still in that Marius Whack that turned up that night, you know what I mean? But at the same time, we all know that's not the best Dillian Whyte that was in there that night. So, we've got that to look at. But I mean, listen, he knows. We've sat down straight after that. Actually, I think the same night. We spoke at length me and him till early hours in the morning, eating and talking, and just saying, listen, man, you got to go back to the drawing board. You got to go, and this is a big year for you in terms of a world title is looming, possibly end of 2020, 2021 February latest. So you need to get your mind and body and focus right. Whatever's happened in the past has happened. You'll manage to get past that and you're in a clear state of mind. I understand there's a lot of burden that's been on your back and stress and so on, but you need to try and leave that now. You got through that fight. You got a good 10 rounds under your belt. So you've gone in to the 2020 saying, well, I had a hard fight. I took some nice leather on the whiskers. The whiskers are still in good nick. I've got, I had 10 good rounds under the belt, and I know what I need to do. So going back, you need to say, he needs to, get himself in shape, get himself back down to the into the kind of shape he was against when he fought Rivas, and probably even better than that, because when you're going up against either one of the winners of the WBC, i.e. either Fury or Deontay Wilder, you're gonna want to be even better than that to try and take the belts from the champions, and we see what Deontay Wilder is about. He's got that one punch concussive power, and he always tends to get outboxed, but then he puts them guys to sleep. Like he said, all he needs to do is be good for a few seconds, and you have to be technically sound for 12 rounds. And there's not many people that have done that. Tyson Fury, I felt, won that fight when he fought him, but he got caught with some big shots and got laid out a couple of times and managed to get back up. And, you had Spilker doing that, Ortiz was doing, that. But then it is hard to keep that focus, what I mean? You got to, with them, you can't switch off. And what you don't want to do is, you don't want to go back in straight lines. That's where he shoots. He's got that laser right, man. If you're going to go back in a straight line and then you stop right in front of him, when he takes that chance, he does swing it. So, if once that hits you, man, if he hits you clean, it's like that. To be honest, even if you don't hit me, even if you don't hit you clean, you're still like that, because that punch against Ortiz, for me, it didn't seem like the most devastating punch, and you saw what it done to him.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised. I don't know, maybe it was just where he hit him or what, I don't know. But listen, he's someone you don't want to take for granted, and even the Gypsy King, he's an excellent boxer, all-round athlete. So there's these fights are hard fights. Dillian's got looking forward to in this year and the next year, 2021.
All in all, what was the experience like being out in Saudi Arabia? What were the people like? How were you treated that day? And is it something that you'd be able to do it again in the future?
Saudi Arabia, we had a great experience. The people were really nice. Obviously, what you got to bear in mind is the event we came for, Riyadh season. So I think it's probably a different Saudi Arabia than some people normally see when they're there. But saying that, I went outside on a few occasions and I found the local people were very nice, very respectful, very kind of catering. It's like, obviously I don't know what to expect or what I thought I would expect, but I didn't expect such maybe humbling people who were more tentative to stuff, because in terms of, we was lost a few times, and we met a few people, and we met some guy, I think he was from America, lived there or something, could work there, had some businesses, and moved from in between there and Italy or so. I can't remember what he was saying, but he was when you're walking, everything's pretty kind of far. So this guy gave us a lift up the road, put us in the right direction, gave us a lift, and then we met an old guy. He was just seemed to be kind of infatuated by how tall I was and big, and he was like, yes.
I think a lot of people would be infatuated to see how tall you are.
Yeah, so he was like, yes, I like you. I got this for you. I said, no, I'm looking to buy one. It's fine. And he said, no, I have one for you. But he was giving me loads of gifts, and then it was like, I'll help you get to the other side and whatever. Because where he was about 30 minutes from, I think, some town where we could buy gowns and stuff to wear out, because we went to the black tie event and stuff. So, the people for me were very, very helpful. And they seem genuine, you know what I mean? And obviously, when you think of stuff, everyone was talking about how the regime is there and strict. You can't do this, you can't wear that, you can't say this, you can't do that. And the princes who we met there was equally as good and kind. And I felt like it was, it was somewhere I'd like to say I'd go back to. But then obviously, if you're going back on a different occasion and that whole event is not on it, it's probably going to be somewhat different again, because I believe they're probably a lot more relaxed because of the event, and they probably said to maybe police and surrounding people, the people who are coming, there's going to be a lot of Western people, maybe don't harass them, don't be a pest, don't make yourselves nuisances. We want everything to go smooth, because before, I heard you couldn't even wear shorts there without getting accosted by police. And, you know, I heard, was it Paul Smith was there, and he got banged against the wall, and they brought out their batons or something, or threatening him, you know, hey, you don't wear this here, and stuff like that. And I wore shorts there, and loads of the other guys went for walks, and it seemed to have been different. But a lot of people said it's changed over the last 6 months to 12 months, you know, so... Like I said, it's good that, you know, things are changing, and they're changing to a degree. They don't need to change fully like the West, but they you know, some of the things have changed, and they're open to more boxing. They created history by putting that show on there in Saudi, even though they spent a hell of a lot of money, and they're going into music and concerts and other stuff. So it's one of those.
A topic that you've spoken about before, and obviously a topic now that's had has been resolved, was obviously the Dillian Whyte situation with Ukad. A few days before the fight against Marius Wack, Dillian was cleared of Ukad charges. It had been an ongoing issue since the Oscar Rivas fight. Now, many people were calling for Dillian to be banned. Many people were slaying Eddie Hearn for even allowing that fight with Oscar Rivas to go ahead. Now that it's all done and dusted, Dillian's been cleared. How much of a relief is it that the whole situation is over and done with, not only for Dillian, but also for yourself?
Yeah, cool. So we got, as a team, as a family, we got a lot of stick for that, you know. But what we did get, we got a lot of encouraging messages. A lot of faith was held with a lot of the boxing fans. I got a lot of messages from people showing their support. And, you know, those people know who they are. I'm sure Dillian knows who they are, because he probably got countless messages, and maybe he got hate messages also, but he got countless good messages, you know. I probably blocked quite a few people. And it's just one of them, you know. You get this thing where people don't seem to be, what they do is they judge before you're guilty, before presumed innocent. So you get a lot of twats who, you know, want to comment and say shit, but then if they saw you in real life, they probably wouldn't say half this stuff. But we can understand. You know, everyone wants a clean sport, and everyone to be on a level playing field, you know. So in this incident, there was a lot of, you know, stress, a lot of alarm and annoyance. But we had faith in the system, and we had faith that he would be vindicated, and it was proven so. And, you know, he was advised not to say anything, because like they normally say, what you can say against you can be detrimental. So when you're paying someone to look after you, they went and done their job, and they said, listen, you know, you keep your counsel, we'll be your voice, and we'll do the talking for you. And it was good news just before that fight, you know, to have that matter withdrawn and to be vindicated. But at the same time, sometimes when that kind of burden has been lifted from you, it does kind of stress you out as well. Because when you've got a lot of negative energy on you and it's relieved, you get fatigued and tired after, and drained, if you somewhat, because it's like, wow, you know, that's finally got. But then you go into a place where you're like, oh, it's such relief, but then it can be a confusing balance for your body as well. So to perform under that as well, yeah, again, is quite immense, you know. But we're just happy it's over. We move forward, and he can continue with his career and look to build on what he's achieved so far in his young career, because he's only young, man. He's 31. And all of these boys are roughly the same age, except for Dubois, a little bit older, but they're all young. And there's big fights out there for them, a lot of money for them to make, a lot of history for them to make, you know. So, yeah, it's good times.
Dean, within that space of time, with everything that's been going on, was there any point that Dillian perhaps maybe even considered retiring?
He said it many times, you know. He was really stressed out, and you could see. And he didn't want to train. He went into this low moment, and it was like it just needed to play out. You know, sometimes these things, you know, there's not much you can do about them. You know, there's no point making it fester or get to you. It's easier said than done, as everything. Even when we're talking about boxing and I have an opinion on fights, it's easier said than done. When you're in there getting punched in the face, the adrenaline, the occasion, all that nerves gets to it. It's a different thing. So yeah, no, I tried to get him out of it. I said to him, you know, come down where I am. Come start training with me. maybe just a different outlook, a different environment, and get him out of the house a little bit, and it started to kind of work a little bit here and there, you know. And then he started to get back in the gym. So it's one of these things, you know. You go into like a little bit of a mental breakdown, depression, and your mindset. You're thinking about the what ifs and whatnot, and can I be bothered to go through this anymore? Because it's all intrusive. It's in, you're in the public domain. You know, I mean, if you're even if you are mentally strong for it, you're just only human at the end of the day. So certain things can get to you and will get to you. So I think he managed to come out of it quite well, and he's still recovering, I'm sure, because it's a lot to take on and there's a lot to go through, and it doesn't easily leave your system, especially the negative energy that's been pushed your way for the last 5-6 months or whatever it was.
And now going forward for the rest of Dillian's career, what would your message be to those who call for Dillian to be banned from the sport completely?
Well, if he's done anything wrong, then that would be something you'd want to look at. But he's been vindicated, like he said all along. I hadn't done anything, and it's been proven that. So, it's just one of them. People have an opinion. Listen, I'm not going to go into that. Obviously, they was looking at it like, well, if he was a cheat, he should be banned. But he was found innocent. He was proven to be innocent, and they withdrew the charges. So it clearly shows he's innocent. Not to say like they was talking about Jerome Miller, where many different substances were found, and then he was either found guilty or pled guilty and was punished. And now he's back. Something totally different. So when you're looking at it, we can't put them in the same category. It's something totally different. There are fighters where things happen with things, and there's cross-contamination or whatever it is, and then they're vindicated later. It happens in this sport, you know what I mean? So we've seen it time and time again, So it's not a good look, but we move forward. I don't know all the facts of the case, but I'm saying this has happened with other fighters, so it happens in the game, and then they're vindicated. But at the same time, it doesn't mean people doesn't cast aspersions on those fighters and say stuff about that, because this is what it is. It's an opinionated sport. Mm-hmm. People are going to have their opinion. Even if you're guilty or you're proven innocent, they'll still have an opinion.
Moving forward, 2020 is a big year, especially for the heavyweight division. It was announced last week the rematch between Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury will take place February 22nd. We also believe AJ's next title defense could be against either Kubrat Pulev or Alexander Usyk. Reading a few things on Twitter, I'm hearing that Alexander Povetkin or Andy Ruiz is to be the likely opponent for the brother Dillian. Any comments on that?
Andy Ruiz or Povetkin?
Povetkin, yeah. That's what I'm reading a lot of on Twitter.
Yeah. I think those are the names that have been circulating. I think Dillian himself mentioned some of those guys, but this is just me. This is my opinion. This doesn't mean his team or the guys are going to go for this. But I look at things a bit different. Maybe they're looking at show business. It's a business to being paid. If you want to get paid, I guess you'd look at the likes of maybe Andy Ruiz, because obviously
he's got a lot of money now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a lot of money, but not even just him. I'm talking about the fans would want to see it, and it's going to be a hell of a fight. So it'll be a great pay-per-view draw. So imagine going to seeing that fight. Him and Dillian, they're going to be exchanging shots, and it's a big shootout. So it's one of them. And look, he just beat Anthony Joshua in devastating fashion on June the 1st, and then now Anthony Joshua's recaptured his belts to be 2-time world champion. So in terms of that, it would send minds thinking about certain stuff, and then they'll be salivating, thinking about what that fight could entail. Even Povetkin, as old as he is, he's got experience. He's an Olympian, a former Olympian. He's a former world champion, and he's had so many fights. I know a lot of people think he's past his best again, but that fight with Hunter shows you where he actually is.
100%.
You understand? And if you want to kid and pretend Hunter's not up there and means business, put him in the ring. You saw what he did to Martin Bakoli. Mm-hmm. Everyone was talking about him being the next coming and this and that, and he smoked his ass. You get what I'm trying to say? He's not a joke, that boy. And the thing is, he's another one. Was he a former Olympian as well?
Yeah.
So, and what he's got that tenacity, he's got that youth, he's got that energy and desire, And that is something. If you've got that kind of energy and desire, he's gone up from cruiserweight to heavyweight. So he's more explosive. He's a lot more fast. He's a lot more elusive than a lot of the bigger guys. So he's going to be a danger and a menace to anyone.
On my way here, I was thinking, would you be open to fighting Daniel Dubois, considering that he's not, well, and no disrespect to any of his opponents, he's not fought the big names yet in the heavyweight division. Would that be something you'd be open to?
No. Me personally, I don't like that fight at all. There's nothing against them. I like the Warrens. I work with them. Excellent people. For me, I think they've done a good job with Daniel Dubois. I think Daniel Dubois has a good future in the heavyweight boxing if he's managed and guided correctly. He has no business in the ring with the likes of Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua and those guys, Deontay Wilder, at this stage in his career. He's 21, 22, I think, just the other day. He doesn't have the experience, and he has that power. If he hits you on the biscuit, it's a big problem to anyone who he hits. But then you got to understand is he was getting hit by, what's the guy he fought, the Ghanaian?
Richard Lartey.
Lartey. He was getting clubbed by Lartey. Imagine that being Dillian throwing that left hook. It's not good. Listen, he got buzzed in there by Lartey. You know what I mean? And that was only 2 fights ago, whatever it was. So we've got to look at what it is. And he only just fought for the British title recently. You know what I mean? So we got to be smart about this. Even when I'm talking about Joe Joyce, that's not a bad fight. But Joe Joyce is fighting for the European. They're about the same level. So how do you start talking about someone who is WBC #1 and then someone who just fought for a British title being in the same conversation of being parallel to have the fight? It doesn't make sense. You've not even gone through Europe level. You've not even gone onto the fringe of world level. So for me, I'd like to see him do a little bit more. Like I said, he's a great talent. Even Joe Joyce, great talent. For me, Joe Joyce has probably got one of the best resumes in terms of fighters who have fought people. It was 10 fights or something like that?
I think it's 11.
He's 11 now, 10 or 11.
Yeah.
So the fights he's had, come on, listen, he's fought a lot of good boys early. So really, for me, I would somewhat give the edge to him if he's fighting Daniel Dubois, because the level of opponents, they're not even in the same stratosphere. The only one on there who was half decent was Gorman. And with Gorman, he didn't perform as best as he could. I think he somewhat froze that night and didn't let his hands go. But yet again, obviously, when you start feeling the leather in there, it does make you think about, right, if I let my hands go and I don't get them back in time, when that right hand hits, it's good night, Irene. But I mean, like I said, he's young enough to not wait out these guys totally, but be smart and just go behind them and fight the fights that are right for him. And then when they're on the way out, then maybe you try and look to fight them all, just to take over from there. But I just feel like he's just a bit too green. He doesn't have that roughness around the edges to fight someone like Dillian. You know what I mean? And even a Chisora, I think, would still be a bit too much for him. But yet again, if he catches you on the whiskers, I'm not saying it's heavyweight boxing. If you get clipped, you go down. Anyone can lose. But what I mean is the experience, them guys, how they like to fight. If they're fighting, he can't fight like in a phone booth. I can't see him having that. He's too big. He's got a lot of muscle. I can't see him fighting the likes of Dillian or Chisora in a phone booth, close quarters, and taking head and body shots the way those guys are fighting when they fought. But listen, anything's possible. Listen, until you bring that out of someone, you never know what they're like. But what I must say again, reiterate, he just fought for a British title. Dillian's next up for a world title. They're in 2 different places. So it's kind of a bit disrespectful to mention his name in the same kind of breath. That's just my opinion.
The reason why I asked you that is because I don't know if he was there at the press conference before his fight with Fujimoto, and Frank Warren said if he put him in the ring with Anthony Joshua tomorrow, he reckons that Daniel would beat him. So that's why, I mean, they're very certain that Daniel is ready to take on the likes of Joshua.
I don't.
Maybe even your brother. And
I don't. They're meant to. They're not meant to. Then what are they meant to say? They're meant to back their horse. You're going to back your horse. You're going to back your opponent, your fighter, whatever it is. The guy you're pushing, you're going to back them. Even if you're in the other corner and you're like a journeyman, when they're there, you're going to encourage them, pat on the back. Listen, go for it, man. You might, the odds are against you, buddy, but trust me, one shot can change the fight. And they rally the journeyman, and you see journeyman pull it off sometimes, and that's what happens. But I mean, listen, Frank Warren, they're putting a lot of energy and time behind Dubois. That's their guy. They have faith in him, which I'm not. You know, they got a great talent there. If I was managing him, I'd probably say the same kind of things. But and you know, encourage them, you know, and give them something to talk about. But yet again, what you got to look at is these guys across the pond as well. So he fights on BT Sport. These guys fight on Sky. The likelihood of these kind of fights happening are very slim, and they're making good money. These boys as well. So can BT pull out the money to go and make these fights? Yet again, I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm just talking. You know what I look at, and me always reading and learning about sports and things. I'm just throwing something out there. Can they pull up the money to get the likes of a Dillian Whyte in the ring with him? If their money is enough, I guess potentially people would look at the fights. You know, I'm just devil's advocate here. You know, but I'm talking about me. I look at it just for what it is, and I think. You know, even Joe Joyce, I think like he's going for a European title. Once he wins that European title, I can't see him staying around at European level too long. He'll just move on to world level after that, if you get my meaning. So he's a little bit ahead of Daniel Dubois in that sense. But I'm hearing that fight's going to get made, so that is going to be a hell of a fight. So the winner out of that, we're going to see if he can do it. But you know, the only thing I'd say is Joe Joyce sometimes gets hit a bit too easy for my liking. I know he's working with Adam Booth now, trying to slip a little bit more. So let's see what happens, man. That fight is definitely an interesting fight, and I'll be right there rearing and waiting to see the result.
So just picking this back up. So we're just speaking about Dubois, Joe Joyce. That should be the next fight that could be made.
Yeah.
Who wins that fight?
It's a weird one. If you're looking at experience, I'd say the more experienced guy is Joe Joyce in terms of he won gold at the World Games, gold at the Europeans, silver at Olympics, and he should have won gold, to be honest. He's got a lot more experience in terms of the big fights, you know, fighting Olympics, the World Games, and so on, and then being a professional fighting the guys he's fought. But saying that he does get clipped with big shots a lot, I don't know if he's going to be able to take the likes of them big right hands and the thunderous right hands that Daniel Dubois likes to rain down on his opponents. But let's see. So the experience, what he does have, may balance out in terms of, because he does get caught quite a little bit with certain shots he shouldn't get caught with a lot. Like if you watch the fight against Bermain Stavern, he was getting caught with some big shots in there, but he's got a hell of a chin. But yet again, Bermain isn't as concussive or a bigger puncher as Daniel is, so you know, it's different. Styles make fights anyway. So let's see. I think it'll be interesting. Two big 6'5" guys, or 6'6" or whatever they are, throwing leather, trying to, you know, put each other out to pasture. It's going to be exciting, explosive. Can't wait.
Obviously, we look at as many fighters as we can on social media, and obviously one of our main followers is your brother Dillian. Yeah. He's trying to reach out to Deontay Wilder in every way possible. He wants his world title shot. What are the chances of Dillian going to Las Vegas and perhaps getting in the ring and calling out the win at the end of the Wilder Fury rematch?
That would be nice, wouldn't it? I don't know what his plans are. Obviously, what I think is he's probably going to be in mid-camp for a fight, so the likelihood is pretty slim. Anything is possible. I might go there, though. So let's see what happens, man. But,
I mean, there's a chance you might bump into Shane Fury as well.
That's great if we bump into him. No one's hiding from anyone. I've been to most of these fights. I was sitting next to bloody what's the dad's name?
John
Fury.
Big John Fury.
Yeah, and what's the other one?
Tommy Fury's brother.
Yeah, I was at ringside, sat right next to them. Yeah, so you know they're not a bad bunch. I know Shane, obviously. I've met him before. He seems cool. I guess he's a man, so he only needs to stand up for his rights, what he needs to do. You know, he's not gonna. If I say something, I'm sure as a man, he's not gonna back down. He's on, you know, he's on camera, what's going out to thousands of people. He's not gonna back down on his morals, which is cool, and that's what you're meant to do. But no, I've not really got anything with him. Like I said before, I go somewhere. If someone does something to me, I deal with it. That's it. Simple. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'll go there, man. There'll be a lot of Furies out there. But like I said, I'm a guy that handles my business, and anywhere is anywhere. Even what Wilder fans, I'll probably go there. And there's both sides, but listen, it is what it is, man. I get busy if I need to get busy wherever it is. So it's all gravy, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure I'll go with a few of my guys. So it'll be nice.
Talk to us about your light heavyweight prospect, Shaq Pettis. For me, was involved in probably one of the fights of the year last year against Dex Bellman, English light heavyweight champion. What's the plans for him in 2020, and when can we next see him in the ring?
At the minute, what's his name? Mick Hennessy is one of the purse bids for Channel 5 to host that show end of February for the British title against Craig Richards. I don't know what the situation at the minute is with that, but what I heard that Eddie alluding that Craig had bigger and better options on the interviews done recently. Craig decides to take that fight. The British title's there, but he has better options. So that would suggest that there's other things they're looking at, or that would suggest maybe they might try and do something and get Craig to take the European title. I'm not totally sure, but they said bigger and better. So if I'm reading in between the lines, I'm thinking maybe they're trying to, there's something maybe he's kind of conjuring. But Craig seems like he's up for the fight. Shaka's definitely up for the fight. So if the fight is done and it gets made officially, it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Anything else you'd like to add before we end the interview?
No, just stay tuned. Got some good boys coming. Super middleweight, maybe a heavyweight and a cruiserweight. So stay tuned, man. I'm just grafting, working, and just follow the journey for Dillian Whyte and myself, and hopefully he'll get his world title shot shortly.
Hope so. Right, Dillian Whyte, listen, just want to say thank you, and to Body Profit for letting us down here and grabbing an interview.
My guy, Body Profit, man. Big up. In the lab. Bless. The cave.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Hope you enjoy the start to the new year, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, absolutely.
Dillian Whyte, thank you very much for talking to Lights Out.
Cheers.